Ms. Sahi, welcome. Let me introduce you to the other guest. This is Mr. Askis. He was a former Prime Minister.
How do you do?
Very well, thank you.
That's Milo. He's a very famous and successful singer.
I get it.
Yeah. And this is Leven. Well, you probably know him better than we do. You've been traveling with 10 Belgians in India.
Yes.
Were they nice company?
Am I allowed to be honest?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
They were fantastic. They were really good.
You now live in London.
That's right.
But in India, you were a famous news reader.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening and welcome. The United Nations has described India as a leading country that has earnestly taken to social...
Was this on an important channel?
It was actually on one of our biggest satellite channels, which is ZTV. And we were beamed out across, I think, about 68 countries. So we were hitting nearly about 70, 80 million viewers a night.
70, 80 million?
Yes, across...
You know how many viewers India for beginners has?
No, but you could tell me and break my heart.
Well, it's really good. It's almost 200,000.
All right.
So slightly less than you're used to.
You see, here's the thing. I've been told that even if every single person in Belgium tunes into the show, that would still be a third of the capital city of Delhi.
Yeah.
So it's not such a bad thing, I suppose.
You now live in London. Why did you move to London?
Well, a lot of reasons, really. Mainly because I met my husband, who's British, a British Asian. I met him in India, and we used to do the breakfast show together on radio, actually.
Okay.
So it was a simple case of his visa for India, 5-year work permit for India expiring, and then him saying that, hey, listen, you know, we've done a bit of media here, and why don't we move back to my place and let's see how things go there.
Yeah. What was your first impression on leaving?
Well, before I met him, I was obviously expecting a very serious scientist and, you know, somebody who'd probably quiz me on, you know, frontier science and all the famous scientists that we've had. So I was very, very nervous until I was told by my director that, hey, listen, he's a stand-up comic as well, which was the saving grace. I said, oh, good. But no, I was really, really very, very impressed with, you know, all the signs that he simplified for me, I have to say.
Yes, that's what he does.
Simplify.
In the end, you became good friends.
Yeah. For now, it's goodbye.
Thank you. You have been the most charming companion.
Thank you.
Oh. It seems as though you had an audience.
You know, I laughed there because I'm sure, I don't know if you know this, but in India, you know, such public displays of affection, even if they're completely, like, you know, non-sexual and only between friends, is frowned upon normally, and you don't see that. Especially an Indian girl with a white man, oh my God. So we were filming this, and for TV purposes, you have to do it from various angles.
Yes.
And by the time we had hugged and kissed for the 5th time, you know, people were like, what is happening? You know, is it a Bollywood film? Is it a crossover? Who are they? And, you know, why is this? So I think we were very conscious of the fact that there were people around us and looking at us, and a simple thing as a goodbye, really. Yeah.
One of the hits of Milo has this lyric: I'm tired of using technology, why don't you come sit down on top of me? Would that be appropriate in India?
You know what? If it became a huge hit and if somebody picked up on it and made a fuss, then you probably would have the moral police on your case. But somebody as charming as Milo, I'm sure he could pull it off. You know, I'm sure the girls would root for him and say, no, he's okay.
I must say, once when I paid an official visit to India, I had a courtesy call with the then Prime Minister, Mr. Desai. And as usual is the case, I had in my files a note on Mr. Desai, his career and his policy and so on and so on. And there was also a sentence explaining that he belonged to a particular religious sect where they used from time to time to drink a glass of their own urine.
Yes, he was.
So I was very surprised.
Did he offer you a drink?
Well, when I came in his office, there was a waiter coming in
with an empty glass.
They presented me a glass, apparently with tea, but I was extremely skeptical and I refused. Very politely. I apologize.
Shabnam, in the episode on religion with Professor Etienne Vermeers, we learned some strange things.
The earth is flat. Do you believe that?
नहीं, जैन दर्शन पृथ्वी थाली जो होती है इसी तरह से सपाट मानते हैं जो वैज्ञानिक मानते हैं गोर राउंड बॉल से तरह से मान से मतांतर नहीं है.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You can see that he's not convinced at
not,
all.
he was more than surprised.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those kind of ideas?
Well, I would say that, you know, it takes all sorts to make the world. But see, here's the thing. In religion, I mean, in India at least, we think that science is science and religion is religion and never the twain shall meet. At least that's what we would like to believe.
Yeah.
Of course, they're both very important to our lives. We don't need to qualify everything on a scientific parameter, you know. And why should we? It's such a chilled out, laid back philosophy. God is such a great fall guy, you know. He takes all your knocks for you. Something good in your life, you say, well done, by God's grace. Something bad, oh, don't blame me. It's preordained.
Yeah.
It's all him, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the philosophy that we've lived by for generations. And as the Americans like to say, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Right. I've never been to India, and I know it's the country where people shake their heads when they mean yes. Did you find that the Belgian visitors had many misconceptions about the country?
They did actually regarding that as well. That how do you distinguish between a yes and a no and a maybe? Well,
yeah.
we just know. And also, I think all my Belgian guests were really surprised to see Indian men walking hand in hand freely on the streets, and they were like, "Wow, India has a sizable gay population. This is gay paradise. You know, why is it that the travel book doesn't tell us?" And I'm like, "No. You know, I know we are famously prudish when it comes to kissing in public and stuff like that, but I think we're quite affectionate when it comes to being just walking around with our friends, especially of the same sex." So.
What was the other thing for you?
The other stuff, there are so many there, but the nodding is of course they all go like.
Yeah.
And the camera team and the sound guy who had been there for many weeks, they all already started. So I asked the producer, like the Indian producer, I was like, so this means yes, and he said yes, but it can also mean no.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's clear.
Yeah, and how do you tell? Well, you just kind of know. So there's some telepathic thing going on between the Indians that we don't get.
Now you've been traveling around your country with all these Belgians. Have you discovered anything new?
I have actually, you know. In fact, it's been, I think, the best 6 months of my life. It was like a paid vacation, you know, and it really reintroduced my country to me. And that is the reason why I've done a book as well about this, because, you know, I felt that I had such wonderful experiences, because television is an exacting medium. You know, you shoot so much, but there's only this much that you can include. And there was an India for Beginners which was unfurling behind the camera, because my crew had, you know, all my guests, my crew, besides what we were filming, they had come to India for the first time. So simple things like when we would sit down to eat, or, you know, when we'd be traveling on our production bus, oh, Shabnam, so you do this that way. Why do you do this? Why does that happen? So there were so many interesting stories, you know. And I felt that looking at India through Belgian eyes, and also looking at India now as a non-resident Indian, because I moved away to London 7 years ago, it really, you know, gave me a fresh perspective on what India is, the India of today, which is really a vibrant land, you know, which is competent, confident, we want to take on the world, we want to make a difference. But I think the one thing that I realized, especially listening to all my guests who were intelligent, insightful people, the one point that was driven home to me over 6 months was the fact that, you know, we're a country which is on the cusp of change. We're destined for big things, we can see that, but there are still things that we need to fix, you know. And earlier on, we used to blame everything on poverty, you know. Oh, you have such, you know, melodramatic films, why? Oh, but we are such a poor nation.
Yeah,
You're not doing much for global warming, why? Oh, but we are such a poor nation. I think we can't hide behind that smoke screen of poverty anymore. We need to take charge, we need to do something. And the young blood in India now realizes that, you know, unless and until they address these problems, we're not going to be a truly great nation.
It's not going to happen. Voor wie er niet genoeg kan van krijgen, is er het boek India voor Beginners. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you.